Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're uncovering the hidden world of training dictators' guards, a covert practice that has shaped global politics and fueled human rights abuses. Over the decades, some of the world's most oppressive regimes have received military and security training from powerful nations, often in secret. These programs, designed to secure authoritarian control, involve training elite guard units to protect dictators while suppressing political opposition. From torture techniques to surveillance tactics, these dirty practices have left a trail of fear and violence. Let's dive into the disturbing details and long-term impact of this hidden strategy. What is training dictators' guards? Throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, various governments, particularly those in superpowers like the US and former Soviet Union, have provided military training and security expertise to the personal guards of authoritarian leaders. The objective was often to maintain strategic alliances by ensuring that dictators stayed in power to serve foreign interests. These guard units, trained to protect dictators and suppress dissent, became instruments of repression, responsible for arrests, torture, surveillance, and executions of political opponents. Dirty tactics used in training programs. Counterinsurgency and torture techniques. Training programs often taught guards how to identify, detain, and neutralize opposition figures. In some cases, this included training in torture methods to extract confessions and intimidate dissidents. These tactics were justified as anti-terrorism measures or counterinsurgency training. Surveillance and intelligence gathering. Guards were trained to monitor and infiltrate opposition movements. With support from foreign intelligence agencies, these units developed sophisticated surveillance networks to track and silence critics before they could organize protests or uprisings. Elite protection training. Specialized units received advanced training in VIP protection, making them fiercely loyal to the dictators they served. These units were often better equipped and trained than the country's regular armed forces, ensuring that the dictator had a private security apparatus immune to rebellion. Psychological warfare. Many programs included tactics designed to instill fear in the population, such as public displays of brutality and propaganda campaigns. The goal was to create a climate of fear and compliance, preventing large-scale resistance. Why it's considered dirty. Training dictators' guards is seen as dirty because it enables human rights violations under the guise of security cooperation. Foreign governments that provide such training often turn a blind eye to the abuses committed by these regimes, prioritizing their strategic interests over ethical concerns. By empowering authoritarian leaders to oppress their own citizens, these programs undermine democracy, justice, and human dignity, leaving lasting scars on the societies affected. Impact and consequences. The effects of training programs for dictators' guards have been devastating and far-reaching. In many countries, these elite units became symbols of oppression and terror, responsible for atrocities that alienated and radicalized local populations. In the long term, such training has often backfired on the foreign powers involved. Over time, regimes that were once allies may turn hostile, and their well-trained security forces become formidable opponents. Additionally, revelations of these programs have damaged the credibility of democracies promoting human rights and rule of law. Historical examples. In Latin America, US-backed programs like those at the School of the Americas trained military officers from countries such as Chile, El Salvador, and Guatemala, many of whom later participated in coups, torture, and massacres. In Africa, similar training efforts by both Western and Soviet powers reinforced the rule of dictators who relied on brutal repression to stay in power for decades. Legacy and lessons. The dirty practice of training dictators' guards highlights the moral dilemmas of realpolitik, where national interests take precedence over human rights. It underscores the need for greater accountability and oversight in military aid and training programs to prevent the abuse of power. Efforts to reform or abolish such practices have gained momentum, but the legacy of past programs continues to haunt regions plagued by authoritarianism and instability. The story of training dictators' guards is a grim reminder of the consequences of placing power and control over human rights. While these programs may have served short-term geopolitical goals, their long-term impact on human suffering and political instability is undeniable.